Greetings viewers, Eric the Car Guy here, also known as ETCG1 on this here channel. And hey, if it's your birthday, happy birthday. I'm not going to show you my face today, just my hands and some tools. Here on ETCG1 we talk about stuff. We don't do repair videos, so please don't complain that this is not a repair video. Go to the description, there will be a link there to go to the Eric the Car Guy channel. Go and watch all the repair videos that you like. Otherwise, if you wish to stick around, join in the conversation, you are welcome to do so. Okay. I know that this video is probably going to spark a lot of conversation, but you know what? I've seen it a lot in the comments. It's out there. It's out there. So here it is. Here is my take on the different types of tools. Before me, I have tools from Craftsman, Harbor Freight, Matco, Snap-on, Mac, and then also Snap-on. I don't have a Mac wrench set that's comparable to these other ones. I wanted to show as close to a similar comparison as I possibly could between these different tools and why I feel the way I feel about them. Now, all of these tools will work. They will do the job. I've pretty much selected the 17 millimeter just cuz. Why don't we start with Craftsman? Now this is the OG, if you will, just the regular Craftsman wrench tool that you would find that they've been making since freaking forever. I've used these, I've had these before I was a professional technician. This is what I used. Affordable DIY stuff. This stuff works. It's great. There's nothing wrong with this. However, these are some of the limitations that I see with this. As you can see, some of the chrome plating is chipping off, and also the finish of this wrench, you'll notice, is unlike the finish of any of these other wrenches. These harder edges can sometimes dig into your skin when you're trying to use this. And not so much dig into your skin, just dig in while you're trying to use them. Also, the profile is rather large. Now it's made out of some decent metal, but it feels like maybe it's a little porous, which can equate to not being as strong as some other metals. Which is why I believe Craftsman came along with their professional series. This is also a Craftsman wrench, but rather than it being a just traditional Craftsman, this is what from their professional series line. You can see that the fit and the finish is so much better than with the other tool. Also, it doesn't have this fat bulgy part in the middle, which is nice. The edges are all rounded, which feels nice in your hands. You know what? If you wanted high-end DIY tools, I would look to these Craftsman Professional Series. They really do. They really did a nice job of making this a better wrench. You can also see just the thickness and how different they are. It's a completely different tool. Now, new guy that's come along since is the tools from Harbor Freight. This is out of the Pittsburgh series from Harbor Freight. You notice that it shares a lot of similarities with the Craftsman series. Now, also I'm going to say that some of these are long and some of these are short. I personally prefer longer versions of things so that I get more leverage and such. But you can see that it's got a slightly steeper angle. There appears to have a slightly steeper angle than the Craftsman Professional. It's also quite a bit wider, which may provide a bit more strength. But it also can sometimes get in the way. But it also feels, these both feel like they weigh about the same. So I'm not sure what type of metal this is made out of, but it does have a nice finish to it. Also, really good option for the DIY. So nothing wrong with this tool. Nothing wrong with this other Craftsman tool either. Here is a Matco wrench. I got this. This was actually probably one of the first quote-unquote professional wrench sets I got when I first became a technician. It shares a lot of similarities with this Pittsburgh wrench, but you'll see the tolerances are a little bit tighter. They seem a little bit cleaner than what you see with the Pittsburgh wrench. It also has this grooved end here, for lack of a better word, nut-shaped. It seems to follow the contour of a fastener. Whether or not that's really necessary, I mean, really none of these other tools have that. But I think what it comes down to is the width. And you notice they're ever so slightly different inside of here. If I were to say who has the better quality, I would say probably the Matco in this sense over the Pittsburgh or Harbor Freight tool. The Matco feels lighter, but yet strong. So and it's also a little bit thicker around the middle, as you can see. So the Matco, a really decent wrench. Now my favorite wrenches that I have in my possession, and I saved up to buy them, are these long snap-on wrenches. Let's start with this, comparing it to the Craftsman. There's almost microscopic differences that you can't quite see between these two. They're both 17mm wrenches, and they both have the same gap pretty much, but the type of material that they're made from makes a huge difference. And this wrench just has always felt balanced in my hand. It always felt like I just knew where it was. It always felt really good. Once again, thin design, feels strong, and this wrench here, I've had it for quite some time. It's more than 10 years of use, professional use. Never had any issues with them. Plus the box ends. This is something that I probably should have looked at a little more closely. These box ends and the design of these box ends has a lot to do with how effective this wrench is. You'll notice that also the Pittsburgh and the Snap-on have the rounded grips inside the box end of the wrench. And I think that, I can't remember who exactly came about with that design, but it places the load not on the edge of the fastener, but more towards the middle, and gives it more twisting or torque force that you can apply to it. Going back to the Craftsman Professional series, shares a lot in common with what you see with the Snap-on wrench. But here's the deal. You notice the profile is a little bit different. And this is one thing that I've found with quote-unquote professional grade tools over, for lack of a better word, consumer grade tools, and that they just have a finish and a fit and a feel that is different. And I have been more successful with these professional grade tools in loosening difficult fasteners than I have been with these. I've rounded more bolts off with these than I have with these professional grade tools. Not saying that these don't have their place, not saying that these aren't good. Well, here's a Craftsman also. This Craftsman Professional series, though, like I said, was a real surprise. I got these. They're more than what their traditional brand is, but I would say it's worth it. Now, getting to Mac and the difference between Mac and Snap-on, one thing that I liked about these long wrenches from Mac, and I actually have two sets of these, this is the second set that I bought, was that these are like a really nice low profile. These seem a little fatter, and I use these to get down into tight areas and give myself plenty of leverage. It happens a lot on Asian vehicles, and I've worked on quite a few Asian vehicles. That being said, Mac, also good. And just a little FYI, I believe Mac is owned by Stanley. So Stanley Tools and Mac, I think, are close friends. But you can see the reason why I like the Mac a little bit better with these long wrenches is because of this lower profile, this thinner head, that type of thing. There might be a little more strength here, but I've never had any issues with the other set of these Mac wrenches that I've used. And now I don't use these as much, and you can tell, but I've used the heck out of this guy here. I've had this once again for several years. I saved up to get these tools, and I'm glad I did, because I mean, this is more than 10 years worth of use, like heavy use on this. I use this on just about every oil change I ever did, and it's held up. It's held up extremely well, and I haven't had any issues with it. So the bottom line that I'm going to get to with this here video is that it's really about use, and it's about personal preference as well. These tools that are quote-unquote consumer grade work just fine, especially for the DIY. However, if you're gonna be going into the profession, if you wish to be a professional technician, I say, especially when it comes to hand tools like your wrenches, your sockets, your ratchets, all that type of thing, spend good money. Now, I will say that Snap-on is kind of proud of their stuff. They do make a good product, but because it has this name on it, you know they're going to tack a little bit onto the price. Mac is sort of the same way. Matco, my problem with them was, originally when I started out as a technician, I worked at a shop, and the only tool guy that was showing up at the store was a Matco guy. So I ended up with a lot of Matco tools. When I left that shop, went to a different shop, there was no Matco guy. They weren't even stopping by. So a lot of the stuff that I broke or needed a warranty, I needed to track somebody down. It wasn't like there was going to be a truck showing up that week that I could just trade something broken on. In fact, I had a lot of broken Matco tools still to this day because of that. Mac and Snap-on, you can find those tool trucks just about anywhere. If you're a professional, many times they will come right to your shop. They'd be happy to take your money. But things like Harbor Freight, this is where these guys have an advantage. For all my at-home work, my side work, that type of thing, this is what I had. I had these Craftsman professional grade tools that I used. They were a lot less than buying another set of Snap-on wrenches and things, and for the amount I used them, it worked out really, really well. So these do have a place, and I'm not saying these are not good. What I'm saying is if you're stepping up to the plate, you're going to be a professional technician, get tools like a professional technician. These round bolts less, they do what they do, more, better, stronger, faster, all that stuff. It is worth the extra money, but I will also say they're charging a little too much extra, in my opinion, for what you're getting. But if it's something you're going to be using for a lifetime, and you're using it to make your living, consider it return on investment. If you're going to invest a couple $100s in a set of tools that you're going to have for the next 30 years and will probably outlive you, think of it that way. Think of all the things you'll fix. Think of all the successful times you'll turn them and you won't round something off. That's what I want you to think of. If you're not going to be working on stuff every day, weekend warrior, all this stuff is perfectly acceptable. So don't write this stuff off. But don't knock this stuff and say that this stuff is just as good, because it's not. There is something that you get for the extra money that you spend here. So I will leave it at that. I will put the discussion out to you, because I know that this will create some discussion and debate. And I know I didn't cover like KD and Cornwell and some of the other stuff. I didn't have those to compare with, but they are also out there. Let's see what you have to say at this point. I am Eric the Car Guy. If you have automotive questions, I would ask that you go to ericthecarguy.com. There's a welcome video there to tell you about all the wonderful things that we have there to help you with automotive issues, should you have them. If you wish to connect with me socially, I can be found on Google+, Facebook, Twitter, and now Instagram. And I post ETCG1 videos every Monday, so stop back and see me then. And I close each of my videos with, be safe, have fun, stay dirty. I will see you next time.